So this project I have. So as I said, it's not complete. It's not ready for it to be taught. It's still in its beta stages.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing, like trying to teach others, is part of the process of developing it, right? Okay. And so I don't know how to start.
Okay, well that's one of the good things about doing it this way, is you just kind of jump around, feel things out, and then later we can do like a take two where we decide our talking points you want to go through in order or something.
Exactly. All right.
So I guess start anywhere then.
All right. So I do have a starting point right here. And depending on how much you know and how familiar you are with the concepts and how well you can grasp them, we can either move further or move along.
Okay. Now, in terms of exploring points of clarity, sometimes there's things that I recognize because of some peculiar background I have. But I think to myself, other people won't.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
that's specifically why I chose you.
Okay, very good, very good. So I'll go ahead and even if I get things instead of moving along faster necessarily, I'll ask questions to sort of open up the...
no. Just ask questions if you need
clarity.
clarification.
Yeah, but I mean other people might need it. I think other people know? Okay.
Don't worry about other people yet.
Just my own clarification at this point. Okay.
Yeah, because I need kind of to get through the whole thing first.
Okay. Yeah.
And then maybe like...
Well, that makes sense, because then I'll have a framework of reference.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. All right. So the essence, so what I'm doing is a practicality project, a system of practicality, and it's philosophical, and I keep scratching my leg because I have some mosquito bites. So it's a philosophical system of practicality. This is the second layer project. There is a primary project. I think I've told you about it, the meaning of life. Did I tell you that I discovered the meaning of life?
I'm not sure. There was no, it was something else. I don't think you've unveiled that one to me.
Oh, okay. It's it's the reason why I had like what was behind this whole meditation thing and the whole thing. And, and the philosophical mysticism. Did I tell you about that? That I worked on with Jackson and Jones, actually.
No, this was a project, huh?
Yeah. So that's the primary project, which kind of defines some of the stuff that's in the secondary project. So some of the stuff on this project I won't be able to explain, but they are kind of more elaborated by the primary project. So some of these things will just be taken for granted. Yeah. Or I'll just tell them to you as if they're true, and you will just have to take them if I decide that I can explain that, then I will. But if I decide like well that's part of the primary, it's too much into the primary project, I don't want to get into that, then you could just take them as they are. All right, so the starting point, practicality. So this is a system of practicality. So basically you have a goal, and when you have a goal, you apply the system, and you're able to achieve the goal. Like, for example, my goal is to move this cup, right?
Right.
So, then I move my hand and I push the cup and it moves. So goal is accomplished.
Right. So
in principle, it's pretty simple, right? But there's a lot of stuff that happens in between me having the desire, having the goal, and actually achieving it. That because we take it for granted, and it goes unanalyzed. Sometimes we have a goal and we can't achieve it. Right? So the starting point is this: the essence of practicality. Oh no, before the starting point. Yeah, before the starting point. So here's the summary, kind of the essence of the project, right? And it comes in these 4 steps, and you can see them right there.
Okay.
There's a 0 step, actually.
Okay, 0 step is cognize your goal.
Yeah.
Should I read them out loud?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 1 is believe in possibility. 2 is become aware of signs that indicate attainment. 3, reinforce. And 5, use. In parentheses, it says incorporate into world.
Yeah. So I'm looking for a more developed version than that, because I thought I had printed it out, but I did not. All right, so that's kind of like the essence, or that's supposed to be the essence of what practicality is, right? Throughout my project, and even in creating this system of practicality, that's what I used. That's the system. So that's like the essence and that's the essence to that crew. That kind of, it's kind of like self-sustaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really important thing in my project. So the pre-step is, first you have to cognize the idea, and this like, you know, to me, like, this project, it has to be something that is self-sustaining, something that arises from nature itself.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Like
it's not something that's synthesized.
something discovered rather than invented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to take that idea from one to the other, though. Right. So the way that I try to discover things here is by asking, well, so you cognize the idea of a goal, but where does that come from?
Okay.
How do you cognize an idea of a goal in the
Right.
first place?
Right.
How do you have a goal in the first place?
Right.
And I think that in order for it to be like super essential, like essential to nature, it has to start off with desire. First you have to have a desire.
Mm-hmm.
And the desire will tell you what the goal is. You
Mhm.
cannot have a desire if you do not have a goal.
Right. Right.
Because every desire indicates that there exists a goal.
Right.
And if if you do happen to have a desire without a goal, it's only because you're not aware of it.
Yeah. Now I suppose we could use goal in a couple different senses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a desire is for a particular thing, and that's what we're calling a
Yes,
goal.
yes.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have competing desires and choose one over another.
Yeah. Okay, good. And that's also like you cannot have one side of the coin. So desire and then achievement and desire, they go hand in hand.
Okay.
So just as soon as you have a desire, that's the opportunity for you to have a goal. If you do not have a desire, then there's no goal. And you're in stability, so it doesn't really matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't need a practicality project for this. But the first step is to cognize the idea, and every desire is an indication in its very potency of its own fulfillment. And every lack indicates a fulfillment. No matter what level you're on, okay, there's always freedom. Okay, so step one. So once you cognize the idea of a goal,
Yeah.
the first step is to believe in its possibility.
Because you wouldn't even attempt something if there was no possibility.
Mm-hmm. And even if you did attempt, you wouldn't recognize it if you were to achieve it, because you don't believe that's achievable.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So believe in this possibility, that's the first step. Then the second step is to become aware of the signs that indicate the attainment of the achievement. Yeah, the attainment of the achievement. So first you believe in the possibility of the attainment, and then you pay attention to the signs that indicate that it's attained.
Okay, so it's sort of like the scientific method where you hypothesize something and you say, well, now, how is this testable? How would it be falsifiable? What would be the... so then you do the experiment,
Mm-hmm.
you come up with certain things that you predicted, and you go, success.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So there's that method to it. So let's say I want to move that cup with my mind, right?
Right.
I'm not sure if I will be able to do this.
Maybe use your mind to move your arm.
Okay, yeah. So I have to believe in the possibility that I'm able to move it with my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I become aware of the signs that indicate the attainment. So maybe there are signs that indicate that I can move the cup with my mind, right? And so what would those signs be?
We should be able to see something.
Yeah. Okay. No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Not at this point, because as you become aware of the signs that indicate the attainment, maybe this one's too complicated. But it's not necessarily things that you see, but you kind of like start off with picking up on those signs in the first place.
So are we talking about the signs that it's possible? Okay, so maybe if we looked at some examples of some of the siddhus, some of these yogis that have attained certain abilities, we might say, oh, now, it looks like maybe these people can do it, so maybe I can do it.
So that's kind of like a third. That's kind of like a third experience. You know, but right now I'm focusing in me and the goal.
Okay, all right. So
my experience of it.
So something within your experience that would indicate the possibility
Yes.
of being able to move with your mind.
Yes. And something in my experience with the object.
With the object itself.
Right now.
So not with another object that I didn't extrapolate.
Yeah.
Like I can move that, so maybe I can move this.
Yeah.
Something with this right now.
Yes. So that's why I thought it would be more complicated, I guess.
Is that one of the criteria for every one of these things? Is
Yes.
that it has to be with the specific goal? There must be something within your own experience that indicates it.
It has to be with the goal that you're trying to achieve. So the goal that I'm trying to achieve is this object. So it has to be.
And it can't be from extrapolated from comparison with something else. Like, for example, I look at something and I think, I can jump over that. Why? Well, because I know I jumped over other things similar. Would it be a...
That would be memory.
Okay. Would it
Would
qualify to the experience?
I'm not sure, but I should write that down. I'm pretty sure that question is already answered, but I will write it down just in case, just to make sure. So I'll write down past experiences in memory. I'm pretty sure it's addressed as well.
I suppose within myself, if I'm going to try to very much narrow it down to moving this cup with my mind, I would look for... Now, some people would put this in reverse order, these two things I'll mention, but for me, it would be first a theoretical justification for the idea that I could do it. And then number two, this is a little bit more touchy-feely, but probably can I envision myself doing that?
Yeah.
A lot of people start with the touchy-feely first.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what you're getting into is to believe in its possibility, right? Okay, yeah. So that's the theoretical justification. So that helps you believe in the possibility, and then the touchy-feely that also helps you believe in the possibility. So then it's becoming aware of the signs that indicate the attainment. So, what I mean by that is, in what ways are you already moving this cup with your mind?
In what ways am I already moving?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and I guess that's where the breathing comes in. So it's moving very subtly. You probably can't see it, but there is motion going on there.
My voice is moving it too.
Yes. Okay, good. High five. Got something. All right. Yes, I thought it would be more complicated, but yeah, we're getting somewhere. Okay, so yes, so become aware of the signs that indicate that it's the goal is already attained, right? So there is motion going on, there's sound vibration, there's air, and there's physical influence, and then there's the possibility. And for that, there's also you have to be aware of not just what's going on right now, but the potential realities, right? And potential realities include my body moving everywhere and sometimes hidden, right? And then reinforce that. So then you would have to reinforce that. And okay, so I can move it with. So you reinforce all those ideas. So you say, okay, I'm moving it with sound. I'm moving it with wind. Now I can move it with my physical body. And you just reinforce that, and kind of emphasize those things, so that the more you create these things, the more you move them, and then use those things that you've discovered to move them. So you could use sound to make it vibrate, or you could use wind, or you could use your physical body.
Yeah.
So there's practicality.
Right. Yeah.
And if you wanted to discover a way to not use physical body, not use air, then you would just have to become aware of the signs that indicate attainment that do not use those, and that you would have to become aware of
the other
things.
modes.
Yes.
The other modes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of the essence of the project, of the system.
Okay.
And with that seed, in comes the whole system, and you just elaborate the whole thing. But the reason why this is so important is because this is what I used to create the system. This is what,
that's the condensed kind of basic principles of it.
Yeah, and so I use that to create itself, kind of thing. So that's how I That's how I justify it being something observed rather than something synthesized. Because it kind of created itself is kind of like something that's in the essence of reality, not something that is set up.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Is that something that you agree with, or would you have any questions about that?
Well, you talk about something in the essence of reality not being set up. Sounds like you're saying what I said before about you discover it rather than invent it. In other words, it's not you're exploring the way things naturally already are, and you're trying to work in conformity with the natural processes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So
that is right.
Yeah. So it sounds like the discovery of the methodology itself is one that follows that same method.
Yeah.
That you're trying to follow the natural way and just kind of clarify it.
Okay. But
is that how you see yourself?
Yeah. That's how I see myself. But I do understand that from what I told you, you might have disagreements about it. I'm just wondering, if you could tap into those.
Okay. Hypothesize a disagreement for me,
Oh.
and then I'll tell you if you nailed one or not. Because I've got to chew on some of this stuff, but you can probably help me chew it over by raising some questions. What are there any areas there that you might suspect that I would have a disagreement with?
Why does it? First of all, what justifies, or I guess the part that I don't want to elaborate, that I don't seek to elaborate on, is it. How do I know that the system creates itself, or that this essence creates itself? So that's one, but I will probably won't elaborate on that. But something that I might elaborate on would be, why does a system creating itself make it part of the essence of reality instead of it being synthesized?
Yeah, I think probably the term creates itself is something that could take a little more clarification. I can speculate a meaning that maybe I agree with, but to be sure we should nail it down. So in creating itself, do you mean by that you're following this same natural process in order to come up with the theory, which is really just the natural, what is in some cases intuitive, but made explicit? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. Yes, that is the way you described it is not how I went about discovering it. But yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's the reason why I feel like it's not communicated yet, because I'm not telling you how I went about discovering it.
Well, talking about's a good way to distill the all those fine points, and I find that usually the closer we get to objective reality, which is a dirty word for some people, but that's what we're talking about. Anytime we're talking about discovering something rather than making it, we're bringing out something from the essence of nature. The closer we get to that, the more of a kind of compelling, poetic essence that it just has when it strikes people yes. Of course. And it resonates with something that they've sort of seen already in a vague way. It's just brought it to focus, Okay. So I think that's
okay. So that was one of the important. That was one of the things that was very important for the system, that I wanted it to be self-propagated, so that everything that I was using to create it, so that everything that was in the system, I was using it to create it.
Yeah. So like you've got this tool that you use for all these different things in life, including
itself.
Making this.
Yeah. So it's kind of
It's like you're recognizing. Well, in a way, I could compare this to the scientific method. The scientific method is an elucidation of something that's kind of common sense, but it's brought into focus.
Okay,
and once we bring it into focus and elucidate it, then we can be more careful about it than before when it was a little haphazard, out of focus. It's sort of like driving down the road, but there's no lines on the road, so it's kind of hard to stay on your side of the road.
Yeah,
you know, it becomes more subjective. Were you on your side? No, you're on my side. You know, but when we clarify these things in nature, then you know, we're able to.
So now I'm glad that you brought up the scientific method, because it's kind of like something that you call it common sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now we're kind of like refining what common sense is, so that it would be more effective.
Yeah, because unfortunately, if we just leave it as this term common sense, which a lot of people are happy to do, you run into all kinds of problems where it's common sense to one person and not to another. In fact, I was in it takes me back in my undergraduate days when I was in a general psychology class, and the teacher passed out all these assessment forms, you know, psychological assessments. And I was raising my hand, like, well, does this mean this or this? Does this mean this or this? And everybody in the class unanimously was against me. They said, oh, it's just common sense. Why are you quibbling? So I said, wait a minute. And this was kind of cool, because the teacher sort of let me have the floor talking to the class, since they were all against me. And I asked one person, no one else, you know. I'm like, so tell me, what does it mean? And they said it. And then this person over here that agreed that it was common sense disagreed. No, it was common sense something else. So everybody was just common sense. But really what that meant was, it was just this impression that they never questioned. So subconscious processes sometimes are correct, but if they're not, how are you going to know? Well, we can keep ourselves accountable, our thought process, when we clarify things. I mean, contradictions were something people recognized long before Socrates came along, and you know, they named the Socratic method after him. You know, but once people began to practice it as a methodology, then it became really useful. So I think this is a useful project.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And just to note, I haven't done research as to whether there's something like this out there. I don't know if there is. There probably is. But I also wanted it to be original, and for that reason, I kept myself from researching third sources. So this is just, all this is based on experience.
Yes, your mind.
And introspection. And just personal observation of it, and just like my personal logic.
And that's where I think I want to be careful saying this, but I think usually that's where the good stuff starts. Now, I'm not saying something else might not stimulate you to then ponder and come up with something, but what I found is that people who are doing philosophy, you have two kinds. The one kind is unfortunately the majority, according to my experience, and that is people who just love to commit to memory this collection of all these other people's thoughts. And I think of this guy a long time ago, like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was walking around the empty streets of Riverside with this guy I met at a cafe who had announced to me that he didn't believe the universe existed. And so we were walking around and we were arguing about whether the universe existed. And at one point I just quit arguing with him, and I just wanted to get real with him, because I just couldn't believe that he's, you know, this guy really believes the universe doesn't exist. So I said to him, so if a woman was being raped right there, would you do something to intervene, or would you just say, oh, that doesn't exist? And he goes, well, obviously I don't apply this to my life. You know, so his philosophy was just this kind of useless hobby. Useless in my opinion. Maybe entertaining counts as usefulness in some way. But it's not a love of wisdom, which is what philosophy really means. When you are going to actually dig for something and try to come up with something useful, that's where I find whether whether they're people with big names or whether they're just amateur people. That's where I find usually the stuff that I find I recognize, like, even if it's just in seed form, like, oh, there's an insight there, you know. I think that the fundamental principles of reality are not so unattainable, but people end up getting this idea that, oh, I shouldn't even try because there have been these pontificators through history and they've never come to consensus like they ever would. And for some reason, they make that a requirement to believe that something's like obtainable.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, so just to kind of like sum up that point, natural manifestations. So these are, the system is composed of things that you already use. So the descriptive nature of this project came as a goal because I wanted a formula that was supported by nature itself. So it only describes, it does not synthesize the practical system, since synthesis would require constant maintenance. This is a descriptive of something that already exists on its own.
Yeah.
So, so that's what I want it to be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe along the way, like there's something in there that's not, you know, that it's actually synthesized. But that's one of the that's one of the criteria. That's one of the goals of the project, of the system.
Hey, are we going to have some future discussions where we're going to see how this relates to your meaning of life, and also you mentioned the philosophical mysticism project?
That would be primary. That would be the primary project. Maybe. Right now,
I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
But, meanwhile, we're just dealing with the toolbox here, I guess.
We might use those as reference because like I said, some of these things you just take them for granted. So I might refer to them in the primary project as they pertain to the primary project. So it will come up. It will come up.
You can make a whole vlog, a whole series.
Yeah. All right. So the starting point of the project.